La biodiversité exceptionnelle de l'Afrique du Sud attire depuis longtemps des bioprospecteurs. Ces derniers cherchent à exploiter des savoirs médicaux traditionnels qu'ils pourront ensuite revendre en Occident.
We have 20,000 plant species in South Africa, and we have a unique floral kingdom that only occurs here. So it's a big challenge for us to work out how do we protect this biodiversity. It's a massive responsibility.
Massakene est un village Xhosa niché dans les montagnes du Cap Oriental. Il fait partie de la communauté villageoise d'Alice.
Eliyeza lona ndilazi libuntwane asuba ndilazi kuba ndimdala. Kudala silisebenzisa eliyeza. Utatam ebesebenzisa amayeza notatomkhulu wam ebesebenzisa eliyeza empahleni nasebantwini. Eliyeza thina silithatha ngathi liyeza lemveli kuthi. Athi umntanam nobufunyenwe sisisu ndikhumbule uba kanene kwakuye kuthiwe nantsi into phakathi kwamasimi. Nam ke ndathi ngoku senditshatile ndinabantwana bathi boba nesusu ndiyobaleke nam ndiyowukhapha ndilivaste ndiciphize ndipheke lithi lowupheka ke ndimselise umntana. Athi ke noba uyahambisa gqitha ndimcime nomcimangelayeza ndibone umntana esiba bhetere ndingakhange ndide ndiye kwagqirha. No ndaqonda uba mandiyibuyele le nto.
La vie n'est pas facile par ici. Environ un tiers de la population est au chômage. Les hommes partent chercher du travail en ville. Restés derrière, femmes et enfants complètent les revenus domestiques en cueillant du Pelargonium.
The Eastern Cape has always been almost a Cinderella community, a community which nobody seems to have wanted. Eastern Cape, even back in the 19th century, was the start of black political consciousness. As a result, the Eastern Cape was always seen as a political hot potato, and today it is a poverty-stricken province.
Isibaningi wonke umuntu apha kulanja uvendle usincede kakhulu thina apha ekhaya mnandi naye ningapeyi nopeya ngolo xesha. Uvendle ndisomba yena ndincedisa lo utata weli khaya sisomba uvendle ndincedisa ke nezikolo ngaye nabantwana begxothwa nasezikolweni ufuna izihlangu zesikolo asikwazi imali epeyi umuntu oyi-1 sithenge izihlangu.
Pendant des années, la population locale ne s'est pas rendue compte du marché international du Pelargonium.
Pelargonium, Sidoides and reniforme have been traditionally used throughout these areas, the Eastern Cape and Lesotho, for stomach ailments, and more recently it's been used and exported internationally for respiratory problems.
We've actually got 2 products that we sell. The one is Pelargonium tincture on its own, and then we also sell this one which is called Flu Fix. This one is a combination of Pelargonium with other antiviral, antibacterial herbs. When Europeans, in particular Germans, come to South Africa, they usually buy us out. They buy all the stock that we have.
Les propriétés du Pelargonium sidoïde ont bien sûr fini par attirer l'attention des laboratoires pharmaceutiques.
There is a guy which was 2006 which came here. He talked to the people of this village that he wants them to harvest for them. He take this medicine to Cape Town where there is a company which is called Percival. And then Percival take this medicine to Germany to the company which is called Schwabe. That's where the problem came.
Nomtunzi Api appartient à la communauté locale. C'est elle qui décela en premier l'intérêt grandissant pour la plante dans son village.
I'm working in Grahamstown in Albany Museum. I was working in the department which is called Herbarium. One weekend I came home. I found out there is a high harvesting of the Pelargonium. Even my children were doing it.
Inquiète, Nomtunzi se confie à son responsable, le botaniste Tony Dold.
I talked to Mr. Dold. Can you come to my village so that we can find out what is happening?
Et celui-ci découvre que le Pelargonium sidoide est connu des cercles de botanistes depuis des dizaines d'années.
There's a paper written about the history of the Pelargonium and its use going way back into the early 1800s. So this specimen was probably collected before 1896, but it was donated by the collector to the South African Government Herbarium. I heard about the Pelargonium for the first time probably 12 years ago. A young French guy and a young German man who were almost exploratory botanists. And they went into the rural areas around Alice and so on in the former Ciskei, and indeed Pelargonium was one of the plants that they asked people to show them and collected, and then they would send these plant specimens somewhere else in the world, I presume Germany, I'm not sure though. But it became quite clear to me quite soon that they were prospecting, they were looking for potential medicine, and it wasn't just Pelargonium, there was a whole suite of plant.
In the early days of South Africa, when South Africa was a primarily Dutch colony, the big group of settlers were the German immigrants. They established a very strong German sentiment or German community here in this part of the Eastern Cape.
En 1987, la société allemande Schwabe fait l'acquisition du laboratoire pharmaceutique ISO Arzneimittel. ISO vendait depuis 50 ans un médicament à base de Pelargonium, le Umckkaloabo.
We sell Umckkaloabo in about 40 countries all over the world. And here's a German package and a Swedish one.
Mais la vente d'Umckkaloabo est sujette à caution. En 1992, l'Allemagne et l'Afrique du Sud ont ratifié la Convention sur la diversité biologique de Rio. Cette convention stipule que la communauté à l'origine d'un savoir traditionnel ou d'une technologie exploitée à l'extérieur de ses frontières doit bénéficier d'un partage des avantages tirés de leur utilisation.
Umckkaloabo is an anti-infective drug. It is used for respiratory diseases, especially bronchitis. Yearly turnover of Umckkaloabo is 40 million euro per year in Germany. We sell 5 million bottles a year of Umckkaloabo in Germany, but I cannot talk about the tonnage of roots needed because these figures are confidential.
En 2003, Schwabe dépose 5 brevets sur le Umckkaloabo. Il garantit ainsi son monopole sur le marché européen.
Schwabe had several patents, not on the plant Pelargonium itself, but first on the extraction process. Then we had 3 other patents regarding sickness behavior, regarding using Pelargonium extracts for HIV and AIDS, and regarding using Pelargonium extracts for Helicobacter pylori infections of the stomach.
Pharmaceutical companies apply for patents to stimulate innovation and to get protection for the research they have conducted to arrive at new medicines. The key criteria are novelty, inventive step, and industrial applicability.
Big companies have lots of money. They have the capital to be able to experiment and develop these things and create a product like this cough mixture.
Mariam Mayet dirige le Centre africain pour la biosécurité à Johannesburg. Elle affirme que Schwabe exploite un savoir traditionnel sud-africain et que les brevets déposés en Europe sont illégaux.
You can imagine that it's a blockbuster phytomedicine, natural medicine, not only in Germany but other parts of Europe. And all Schwabe was paying for was the labor, and they were getting a resource free of charge, basically, to make a blockbuster medicine.
Mariam Mayet est certaine d'avoir affaire à un cas de biopiraterie.
The traditional definition of biopiracy is really the unlawful acquisition of resources and or traditional knowledge without the prior informed consent of knowledge and resource holders, and where there has been no benefit sharing on mutually agreed terms.
Elle s'est engagée aux côtés de la communauté Alice en l'aidant à contester 4 brevets.
So I went to Germany to say that I'm from the Alice community, where we are buying this medicine. So I'm opposing what you are saying. You are also the first person who have an indigenous knowledge. And then this is our indigenous plants because it's from the wild.
Mariam Mayet et Nomtunzi Hapi saisissent l'Office européen des brevets, l'OEB, pour contrer les agissements de Schwabe avec l'aide de François Meinberg. Meinberg est expert en droit de la propriété intellectuelle et il a travaillé sur d'autres cas de biopiraterie.
Here in Europe, there is no law to stop the commercialization of such products based on bioparasite. Therefore, we had to try to get it through another angle, and this is the patent. What the patent is doing is to give you the right to exclude others to use it. And so I think that was their aim, to really build with different patents a whole wall around this use of Pelargonium.
Une fois octroyé, un brevet est rarement révoqué. Et pourtant, en janvier 2010, l'OEB révoque l'un des 5 brevets sur le Pelargonium détenus par Schwabe pour manque d'inventivité.
In the case of Pelargonium, 4 opponents submitted new evidence to the opposition division. The opposition division came to the conclusion that the patent did not involve an inventive step.
We have filed opposition against other 3 patents, and there's been, for example, 1 patent on AIDS, where we have already received a commentary by the patent office, where they said, in this case, it's also not only not inventive, it's also not novel. There should not be any patents which used biopirated resources or knowledge to do the invention.
Quelques mois plus tard, Schwabe abandonne 3 autres brevets et produit au même moment une vidéo de 10 minutes pour justifier la commercialisation de leurs médicaments.
As an independent family business, the leading manufacturer of herbal medicinal products has shown its commitment towards the people in the countries where the raw material comes from.
Das Patent war kein Stoffschutz, es hat auch nichts.
The patent is not a substance patent and does not monopolize anything, neither here and certainly not in Africa. The patent was revoked for technical reasons only, and not because it violates CBD regulations.
Die Regeln der CBD. Der Ausgang dieses Verfahrens und die
The result of this case will have absolutely no effects on the availability of Umckkaloabo. I expect that our many extremely loyal buyers will want us to act responsibly and that they will reward us for doing so. That's why I believe that the decision we've made will lead to the product gaining an even higher acceptance level.
Breveter des savoirs traditionnels et des ressources génétiques devrait-il être illégal? Le débat reste entier.
If a company came to South Africa and found a plant and developed a product that, for example, cured AIDS, that would be just too wonderful. And in that case, I don't think any traditional community could stand up and say, well, that belongs to us, you can't use it.
Patents are just another layer of biopiracy. There isn't an absence of biopiracy when there's no patents.
It's being boiled now, but it's very hot. What is going to happen is that she's going to wait till it becomes cool. Thereafter, she's going to take the mixture into the container, and then it's ready for everyone to drink it.
Autre priorité du Centre africain pour la biosécurité, après la révocation des brevets, changer radicalement le mode de commercialisation du Pelargonium.
She's selling a liter for 45 francs. But Schwabe, what is selling that for, that little bottle? It's 35 euros in German.
For me, that there's an inherent inequity in the system that is unacceptable, even if a benefit sharing agreement is agreed with the community and you give them clinics and schools and bursaries. But it's not just about money. How about we also have a stake in the production, the manufacturing of the product? You see, then it becomes a very different thing.
Ulrich Feiter est le directeur de Parseval, seule entreprise à fournir du Pelargonium à Schwabe.
Parseval is a company that concerns itself with the cultivation and processing of medicinal plants. We have a farm that's certified biodynamic, certified organic. The relationship with Schwabe is one of a supplier and a customer. We are contracted to source and supervise some cultivation of Pelargonium, Sidoides. We procure both wild harvested as well as cultivated. In the foreseeable future, that cultivated material will replace wild harvested material completely.
When you harvest it, the plant actually does regrow again, and it can survive harvesting, but it takes a very, very long time for that tuber to recover. At the moment, the species is too widespread for us to list it under the international red list as threatened. Its current status in South Africa is declining. It may well become threatened in the next 5 years with the rate of harvesting that is happening.
Comme le ramassage du Pelargonium sauvage n'est pas surveillé, les locaux ont mis en place le Pelargonium Project. Il permet de pérenniser la culture de la plante.
Whatever we try to do, it must be something that is going to be of benefit.
L'inauguration de nouveaux champs de Pelargonium est célébrée par tous, depuis la chef de village jusqu'aux exploitants locaux, ainsi que des représentants du gouvernement.
I'm working as a manager in environmental affairs, responsible for biodiversity conservation management. We are promoting that these communities cultivate and not rely only from wild populations. It's the first project. I don't know whether there are some projects in the country like this, but for us in the Eastern Cape, it's the first project. We're trying to encourage these communities because, as you know, in the Eastern Cape, people rely basically on biological resources.
À ce jour, seul Parseval a le droit de récolter et d'exporter la plante à l'étranger. Mais le système d'attribution de ces permis est discutable.
You have to have permits which are based on two levels, basically. There's a provincial level, that's where you apply for your harvesting permit, and then for your bioprospecting permit you apply on a national level. There are two communities that have been issued with an official harvesting permit on the ground that they can only sell to entities like ourselves who have applied for the bioprospecting permit.
Depuis 2004, la législation sud-africaine oblige les entreprises qui veulent commercialiser des plantes locales à demander un permis de bioprospection et à mettre en place un accord de partage des avantages avec les communautés locales.
Material can only be sold to ourselves because there is nobody else that complies with the regulations.
The permit says when you harvest it, you can only give it to Parsifal and no one else, which means that you preclude other people in South Africa from accessing the roots and therefore preclude them from accessing a market.
From our side, the department is issuing permits for harvesting of Pelargonium. So if we find that a person has harvested without a permit, then that person will be charged.
David Landou exploite le Pelargonium dans son village depuis que le marché international de la plante a commencé à se développer.
That used to be the place where the buying was taking place. And also, it is where the people were caught. One day, we saw cars coming from the chief, and he was complaining that we have no right to sell this Pelargonium. So I went to court, I told the magistrate what is happening, and we're not aware that this route, we must have a permit for it.
It's Mingangatelo Trust and Siyazama. Those are the only two community groups that have permits with us and supply Perseval.
We're saying they're using that trust to circumvent the law because they should consult with everybody who has a stake in the Pelargonium and whose knowledge is implicated, not one trust. Who is this trust?
Les 40 membres de la coopérative Umckkaloabo ont tous été choisis par la chef Tiali. Ils détiennent un permis d'exploitation et sont les seuls à pouvoir récolter la plante en toute légalité. Le directeur de Parseval, Ulrich Feiter, n'est pas membre de cette organisation, mais il s'invite quand même à la discussion.
The idea was initiated by Chief Tilascali. and she knows her people. She knows almost all the villagers. Then from each village, she nominated people to be members of the trust. The local harvesters work in order to promote the mother trust. They work in the wild, and then they keep the pelargonium in bags. And then the trust take the bags from the workers, and then Percival pays the workers. The Percival company has also promised to make a donation towards the growth of the project.
Just to clarify the situation, the trust as a whole has got a harvesting permit, and the individual harvesters are members of the community which report, so to speak, to the trust. The relationship between the harvesters and the trust is still there, but it's not a physical one. There's no warehouse, there's no money exchange on that level.
La coopérative fait partie d'un accord de partage des avantages entre le gouvernement local et Parseval. Mais le prix du pélargonium n'est pas fixe, et il est difficile d'évaluer si l'existence de cette coopérative a un impact positif sur la communauté ou si elle n'est rien de plus qu'un intermédiaire supplémentaire entre Parseval et ses fournisseurs.
So first of all, often Schwabe says that they are already doing benefit sharing because they're paying a fair price also. But that's a total misunderstanding of the rules of the Biodiversity Convention. Because benefit sharing in the sense of the convention is always on mutually agreed terms. It's not a company who says for its own, I'm paying you this and that's a good price. It has to be negotiated. And this wasn't the case here.
Ingxowa bingenastendi semali esinayo. Ezaa ngxowa zintathu zam ndizombayo bendifumana imali encinci epha ku-50 rand. Ngoku ke umnqweno wam ibingowento yoba sibe kanti singabantu abaqeshwayo, sizazi into yoba ke ngoku siyaphangela right through, simane sivuka sokomba. Siyazi into yoba ke ngoku sizawuthi ngexesha lopeyiswa sipeyiswe imali zethu esandleni.
Chargé de projet en environnement, Kaniso Wonsi a dirigé une étude pour mesurer l'impact du commerce du pélargonium sur les communautés locales.
One of the main frustrations from the community is the price. I think people are being exploited in this regard by Percival. The people who are purchasing the pélargonium from these illegal harvesters, they are using ignorance of these people. The illegal harvesters, they don't know the real value of the pélargonium in the market.
Depuis la mise en place du Pelargonium Project, la majorité des ramasseurs ne peuvent plus récolter légalement du pélargonium.
We are not allowed to sell to Percival. In fact, even if we take it there, they won't take it. They told us that.
Ndancedisa ke ngalo Vendle ndimomba ndimthutha kule mimango uVendle ndade ndathenga netanki iyule le tanki yam ndiyithenge ngoVendle uba ndingamombanga uVendle ngendingaseli manzi ngokuba khona amanzi apha ekhaya mnandi abantu bakha emadameni amdaka iminyaka emibini ndahlala ngowesithathu lo sikuwo singasomvi uVendle ngoku bathatha inkosi yathatha ke ngoku yona yomba ngoku yenza iprojekthi yakhe kaVendle yamvala sasokola kanjalo sabuyela kulaa nto nangoku abantwana abaninji bayekile ufunda kwaphela la Vendle.
Les locaux continuent de récolter le pélargonium sauvage car il est plus prisé que celui des zones de culture autorisées.
The plants growing in the wild have a very deep red color, and that contains the actual compound. It's called Umckkaloabo, and that's a compound that is used medicinally. I know that there have been experiments to grow the plant, cultivate it, but it seems like it needs a very, very long time for the actual plant to build up these compounds, and that is why the plant is harvested only in the wild.
Il existe donc deux méthodes de récolte du pélargonium, l'une légale mais pas l'autre. Alors comment savoir d'où viennent les racines revendues à Schwabe ? David Newton suit de près le commerce des espèces sauvages en Afrique du Sud. Selon lui, les lois en place pour contrôler la récolte du pélargonium sont ignorées.
Illegal harvesting has always been an issue facing the industry, and if we go back 10 years or so, I think that most of the trade has gone on illegally. Now, we're not sure where all of that product goes to, It's very clear from our work that there has been very little monitoring of exactly where plants are being taken out of the wild. Groups of largely uncoordinated harvesters go out, and wherever they find a population, they will then harvest it. It's also very clear that this plant, if it is harvested too regularly, like every year, then the population definitely goes into decline. And we don't want that to happen. That is not what we would regard as a sustainable trade.
Pour François Meinberg, le nouveau protocole sur l'accès et le partage des avantages, signé à la conférence de Nagoya en octobre 2010, est un pas de plus dans la lutte contre la biopiraterie. Ce protocole pourrait avoir un impact important sur certains laboratoires pharmaceutiques, en permettant à des communautés autochtones de bénéficier directement des découvertes dérivant de leur médecine traditionnelle.
Genetic resources are not world heritage anymore. They are owned or under the sovereignty of national states, and some countries also give the power to decide about access to the holders of the traditional knowledge or to the indigenous groups living in this area where the genetic resources comes from.
The solution is, if we can sit down with Sidoides, not Percival, what our high hopes are. We want to harvest this medicine from the wild. We are not going to go to Percival. We're going to find the way where we can export it ourselves. We're not going to, we don't want a middleman at all. And also we are going to tell them the price ourselves. We're going to price our medicine.
This is a project for the blacks, for the people which comes from their area. It's how we fight. We did the same for freedom in this country.
Pendant que les laboratoires pharmaceutiques cherchent de nouvelles cures, les communautés maîtrisant la production de médicaments efficaces à partir de plantes rares ont le potentiel d'enregistrer d'importants profits. Mais le commerce de matières premières, comme le Pelargonium, est menacé par des régulations trop lâches et l'avidité de certains. Les nouvelles réglementations internationales pourraient, dans un futur proche, responsabiliser les auteurs d'actes de biopiraterie. Mais ces changements demandent du temps et des investissements, et le Pelargonium demeure une ressource périssable.
If people are able to harvest Pelargonium and use it sustainable, we can be able to conserve it and use it even for future generations. But if we overexploit it, then we might be causing damage for the future as well.
Isamela we nata